Hi, and welcome to coachfactory.net. I am Awad Muhammad, instructor for CCNA, CCNP and CCI. Today we will be discussing about EIGRP, which stands for Enhanced Interior Gateway Routing Protocol, which is the enhanced version of EIGRP. So let's have a overview of EIGRP protocol. So EIGRP overview. So EIGRP is known as Advanced Distance Vector Protocol because it's a enhanced version of EIGRP, which is no longer be used by Cisco routers. In the latest iOS version, we cannot able to use EIGRP. It's completely outdated. So Cisco came up with enhanced version of EIGRP, and it is advanced then EIGRP as well as other distance vector protocol like RIP. So that's why it is known as Advanced Distance Vector Protocol. EIGRP provides rapid convergence. It uses dual algorithm to provide rapid convergence. For example, EIGRP not only uses the best path, but also it uses what? The second best path, successor as well as the feasible successor. So whenever the best path goes down, EIGRP routers doesn't need to run the algorithm again to find out the best path because they already got the second best path. So they are going to replace the successor with the feasible successor. So that's how it will provide rapid convergence. And EIGRP is a 100% loop-free classless routing. EIGRP provides what? 100% loop-free classless routing. So there won't be any loop if we use EIGRP in our organization. Classless routing means what? Whenever a EIGRP router sends a network to any other neighbor, EIGRP running router, it is going to send network as well as the subnet mask. So it can understand the subnet mask so that it will support VLSM also, subnetting as well as supernetting. EIGRP is easy to configure. So in this scenario, you can go on to any router, enable EIGRP AS number, advertise the directly connected networks, you are done. It's unlike OSPF where you need to keep in mind that we need to follow the hierarchical structure of OSPF where we need to create multiple areas. If we have multiple areas, then all the other areas has to be directly connected to area 0. So here it's not that complex. It is pretty simple. Go to any router, enable EIGRP by using any AS number and advertise the directly connected network. You are done. EIGRP provides incremental updates. EIGRP does not do what? Periodic update. Incremental update also, it has a very good features. Unlike OSPF, whatever the change happens, it is going to send it to each and every router which belongs to the same area. If we have 50 routers in the same area and only 2 routers require that change, but OSPF is going to send it to what? All the router which belongs to the same area. Whereas EIGRP, whatever the change happens, only that change is going to advertise to only to those routers, to those neighbors which required that change, which required that update, not to all the neighbors. So this is again a very good feature of EIGRP. EIGRP supports equal cost as well as unequal cost load balancing. Now other routing protocols supports equal cost load balancing, but they does not support by default unequal cost load balancing. So this is another unique feature of EIGRP where we can able to do an equal cost as well as unequal cost load balancing. So for example, these routers R1 and this you can say R3. R1 wants to reach R3, it can go via what? Both the paths. It can go through R2 as well as R4. So let's say this is the cost via the R2, and via R3 this is the cost. So 10 plus 10, 20. If R1 is choosing the path to reach R3 via R2, then it will be what? 20, the cost. And if it is going via R4 to reach R3, then it will be 10 plus 20 equals to 30. So it is going to choose what? The best path. So every routing protocol will do that using their different algorithm. But in EIGRP, if we have same cost also, 10 plus 10, 20, 10 plus 10, 20 here also, then EIGRP as well as other routing protocols will use both the path as best, and they will do what? Load balancing. They will send the packets, data packets from both the connections. So they will load balance using both the paths because they have the same cost. So that is known as what? Equal cost load balancing. This will be done by each and every routing protocol. But EIGRP has a unique feature. If it has the cost 10 plus 20, 30 over here, and via R2 it's 10 plus 10, 20, then every other routing protocol going to choose the lowest cost based on their algorithm. So the lowest cost will be selected as a best path. But in EIGRP we can also make this path to be selected as a best path along with this path. So it means what? Even though the link has higher cost compared to this one, but we can also do what? Unequal cost load balancing in EIGRP. So for every feature, every unique feature, we have a separate slide to discuss about that. So this is just an overview of EIGRP features. Flexible network design. As I said earlier that you can go to any router, you can configure EIGRP just simply on both the router and they'll start working. They start exchanging the route. Unlike OSPF where you'll have complex scenarios where you need to have multiple areas, all other areas should be connected to area 0. So this is not the case with EIGRP. It is pretty much flexible with the network design. Multicast or unicast instead of broadcast address. So what EIGRP do is, whenever it is going to send an update, it will send the update to his neighbor using either multicast or unicast instead of what? Broadcast address. So EIGRP is not going to support the broadcast. It's going to use either multicast or unicast. So here it has specified that we have multicast and unicast, means EIGRP can send updates using the multicast or unicast. So when does EIGRP sends updates using multicast, and when does it sends updates using what? Unicast. By default the EIGRP router, when it wants to send an update to his neighbor, it will use multicast. And when it sends update to each and every neighbor, then all the neighbor who receives this update from a particular neighbor, they have to reply him. They have to acknowledge him using an acknowledgement packet. If the router does not find acknowledgement or does not receive acknowledgement from a particular neighbor, then he is going to do what? Unicast to that specific neighbor who fails to reply. So by default, all the EIGRP running routers, whenever they are sending an update to their neighbors, they will be using multicast. And if any neighbor does not reply or does not send acknowledgement of that packet to the neighbor, then to that specific neighbor itself, these EIGRP routers going to send what? Unicast packet. EIGRP supports VLSM and discontinuous subnets because, as I discussed here, EIGRP is a classless routing protocol. When it's advertised the network, it advertises along with the subnet mask. So it supports VLSM and discontinuous subnets. We can do manual summarization at any point in the internetwork, unlike OSPF. In OSPF we can do summarization only on ABR and ASBR. So it is pretty much flexible EIGRP to use. You can go to any router and you can do what? Manual summarization. But we'll be doing under the interface in EIGRP. EIGRP not only works on IP, but it also supports other routed protocols like AppleTalk, Novel NetWare. You can also run EIGRP on those routed protocols. So that's it about EIGRP overview. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.